Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Learn From Us podcast. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful day. It's springtime here in Ohio. Our spirits are high. It's a lot better than the winter, right, Paul?
Even though Seth almost died this week.
I was sick this couple days ago, and I had to text Paul, I'm dying, out of both ends of me. And so I'm cold sweating right now. The lights are helping, right, Tim?
Bartender.
I thought she was the raging alcoholic. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Seth. As always, I'm here with Paul, the man, the myth. How have you been, Paul?
I've been awesome. How about you?
You look sprightly this morning as well.
Well, we had a good meeting with our consultant this morning.
What was it about?
The company. We have a consultant, and we love him. He's great. His name is Brendan. He comes in. He talks to people confidentially. Then he tells me what a terrible leader I am, and then we move on. No, I'm just kidding.
I can see that. We always dabble in obviously real estate, investment, how to grow long-term wealth. But you do love the idea of politics. Not so much the bickering in between politics.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, not at all. But you do love some of the ideas some of these people have. How can it help the economy? And specifically, how can it help businesses? Who was that? Did you hear that?
That wasn't me.
Okay, good.
That was you.
No, my phone is absolutely...
It's your laptop, bro.
Laptop again. About once a podcast, some random device goes off. It's a real quality show here, folks. But listen, this week I know you, and I know you were thrilled, just thrilled to hear Elisabeth Warren's new proposal about wiping away college debt. Now, I know the number was upwards in the $600 billion. What are the stats? She proposed for her 2020 run. She wanted to wipe away close to $630 billion of accumulated student debt for about 45 million Americans who have this debt hanging over them. And I think inherently it sounds like a great plan, right? But I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know that...
And free college, I think she was talking about,
free
too.
college. How do these ideas work? People say it works in other countries. Tell me all about it. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
So, first off, I want to preface it with Elisabeth Warren is a Democrat, and it seems like I attack Democrats more, which I can understand because I tend to be right-leaning, but I do not like Republicans either. I'm a libertarian.
You've said this a lot, yeah.
Republicans come up with terrible ideas all the time. Pretty much every time Trump tweets, I think it's a terrible idea.
When you say government is pretty much run pretty terribly.
Well, of course. I don't say that. I think
well, I mean,
the evidence.
I've never heard someone say it, I've never thought about it until you tell me. Like, would you rather have the government run our money? But keep going. Tell me about this.
So this plan is all fine. So here's what I think. I've seen polls recently that show Elisabeth Warren's kind of lacking in the polls. So one of the big foundations for Democrats is young people. Well, what do young people complain about today?
Yeah, it's one of the only things they could probably complain about because
I think this is a great plan by her politically because it probably has a very low likelihood of getting passed, but it's going to get a lot of attention for and a lot of excitement from young people. And young people are tend to be the ones who got to be door to door. They get to be activists.
Sure.
So it's a great idea from a political strategy. I'm imagining that behind closed doors, somebody in her cabinet, somebody in her board said, listen, we've got to get more excitement going. What's something radical we can do?
Sounds a lot like the build the wall statement.
Correct. And pretty much all the posturing that Trump did, Trump was making clothes for his Trump clothing line in Mexico. Do you really think that Trump hates Mexico? No. However, he sat there and said, I've got to get the attention of certain people. Who are those people? I probably shouldn't say, but
It's your podcast.
Yeah. The whole point is the people he was saying the Mexico thing to are people who really very much get excited about that. You're like, yeah, these Mexicans are taking our jobs. Like, F these Mexicans. It's not the case. So, same thing on the left. Elisabeth Warren wants to appeal and get more excitement. What do? Well, we're going to tax those awful rich people, and we're going to give it to you hardworking, poor people, young poor people, and we're going to wipe out this debt that is burdening you. Well, then my first comment is, well, what about somebody who is responsible about their debt?
Like me.
Like you, like Tim, Tim stayed at home, worked while he was in college.
My wife too. I went to one of the most expensive liberal arts colleges here in Ohio, and when I was done, I had about $25K in 25K, and now that's not that much.
No, and by the way, if her numbers are right about 40 million students living in debt at 600 billion, that's about 15,000 per student, which isn't a ton. But the whole point, but then there's somebody like my sister-in-law who has six figures.
We went to the same school.
They went to, as my brother did.
No,
my sister-in-law.
Oh, got it. Keep going. Sorry
Correct.
about that.
Now, we were fortunate, to have college paid for by our parents, but I look at these things thinking, well, okay, but what about somebody who was responsible and paid off their debt or
Worked
stayed
during
home,
college, yeah.
went to a very reasonable cost school? Like I always tell people, why are you going to X private school when you can go to a great state school like, and I hate to say it, Ohio State or Miami of Ohio or OU or Toledo? Just be responsible about it. So now you're punishing those. And I'm glad I'm seeing those comments a lot on social media. Like I'm on Instagram and I see CNBC has a post and I see a lot of young people saying, wait a second. So we're just going to punish those who were responsible and punish the rich because somebody else took on more debt than they probably should have. That doesn't seem fair. And I look at it kind of the same way. And the other thing is, why should things be free? People are saying education is a right. Why is it a right? I don't like people. Listen, I love education. I think people should be more educated. But why is it a right?
That is the slogan.
It's a right.
Yeah. It's funny. I think nowadays it's more of a rite of passage
Yeah, you're
than a right. I think, when our parents were going through college, it was pretty surprising if you actually went.
Oh, yeah.
My dad ended up going off to Vietnam, and that was basically that was it for college. When he went and came back, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure that a lot of other vets had some problems getting back into school. You don't just waltz back home and do that. And but then I think once we got to sort of our age group, I would say the beginning of the millennials, it was pretty much like everybody went to college, right? And so, yeah, the rite of passage is, I've brought this up before. You and I are huge fans of Gary Vee, and he's pushing people away from this idea of college. And you keep hearing over and over that there's no trades. My neighbor just graduated high school, and there's a stigma that if you're not going to college, like there's something wrong with you.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And he actually started like a mentorship or like an apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship,
as
yeah.
a plumber.
Oh.
It's a larger Columbus plumbing company. Their average age is 47.
Wow.
He's 18.
Oh.
And he thinks in 3 years he'll be licensed and ready to rock and roll with zero college debt while he stays at home. And I think if he can get past the stigma that you probably can't bring a date home or have those all-night gaming nights where you're playing Bond.
Yeah. GoldenEye?
GoldenEye, yeah.
Oh, great game.
This is a game from the late 1900s, folks. So
late 1900s.
But
when I was your age.
But yeah, the trades. I met another person, I can't remember, but she's saying her brother was being a welder. And how's welder? You can make great money. And so I wonder how this plays in. You have some people who are saying that college is just a vacation. Gary Vee is very adamant. I remember a video of his where a mother stands up and just says, like, I'm sending my kid to college. Are you paying for it? Great. Well, then just tell him to enjoy his 4-year vacation. And looking back, I definitely enjoyed my 4 years of college, maybe too much, right? Just sort of taking it for advantage. What was your experience like?
I wouldn't go back to college. Not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just I really enjoyed the real world a lot more. I remember in college thinking that this was the most important thing in the world that I'm going to do.
Yeah, me too.
And the better the college I go to, the more successful I'll be.
Yeah, and I was always surprised because I thought I was going to a really great high school / college / PhD program. And every time I was meeting kids who went to the school I would have never gone to.
Yeah.
I always thought that was surprising. I was like, wait a minute, why did I pay this much money to go to this school? And then we ended up being together with a kid, who just went to that school I would have never gone to because of name, reputation, or something. So how does this, when Elisabeth Warren said, how does she plan on doing this? I mean, how is
it's
this?
just taxing wealthy. Her thing is, I'm going to have a wealth tax. So this is something that, or I always forget her name, Cortez, AOC.
Yeah, this new young, was she a senator?
She's a House representative. She's a congressperson.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm happy that she's doing something very great for a 28-year-old. But if you look at all the mistakes she's making, the words she's saying, she's making a lot of errors in her comments, and she talks about a wealth tax. So whenever people talk about wealth tax, my first example is, great, I've got a lot of real estate, so you're going to tax me on the value of my real estate. What's my real estate worth? Well, we'll get an appraisal. No problem. We'll get an appraisal done. And the appraiser that I hire is going to be told, you better make this value very, very low. It's too manipulative. It's not like a bank account where there's just an X amount of dollars in here. Okay, we can sit there. The other thing is, what incentive are you giving people when you sit there and say, I mean, how much tax is too much tax? At what point is that going to affect your desire to go work? Is it affecting us at 38%? No, it doesn't affect me. But if you're telling me the income tax becomes 90%, yeah, I'm not going to do as much. If you tell me all of a sudden as I build wealth, every year you're going to tax me 0.5% or 1% on my wealth, I'm looking and going, damn. So I got to pay my staff to go manage I got to do all these things. So every year I'm losing 2 or 3%. Go to any reasonable wealth manager who understands time value of money. 2 or 3% over a 30-year period is double, triple your money. Double your money, a little bit more than that. I'm looking at going, when's enough? When are we all of a sudden going to realize that we are inefficient with money in this country and we're not, by the way, AOC's comment is the military has too much money. I would agree with that just because it's the military, just because it's a government entity. But at the same point, you can't sit there and say that's run poorly, but then we have welfare programs. We have all the other programs where they're...
Yeah, I think the military is a whole nother topic. I just read a Newsweek article that since 9/11, the United States has spent $6 trillion and have directly resulted in 500,000 casualties overseas.
So I did see that too. The casualties are not U.S. casualties.
Yeah, no.
I'm not diminishing the fact
Sure.
but the best argument I've ever heard for a strong military here is what?
A strong defense? Is that what the...
No, the best argument I've heard is, would you rather have a war fought here or somewhere else?
Yeah, and you say that, and so...
And people think like, oh, that's it's like, okay, I get it. Switzerland doesn't have a strong military. I get it. Canada doesn't have, whatever. I get that. But...
Well, that's why I like talking to you, because when you said that to me recently, would I rather fight the bad guys here or over there? And it's like, well, I guess over there, like...
By the way, that doesn't mean that it can't be done more efficiently.
Sure. Well, there you go.
But to me, it's, you can't sit there and pick and choose the area. I'm way in favor of why do we need new fighter jets why do we need new missiles made every single year? What do we have? 12,000 nuclear... I mean, what's the number of nuclear warheads we have? I mean, I think it's something like 12,000. Can anybody verify that for me?
I recently met a bride, and her dad is in charge for the Air Force, is a representative that sells our old planes to other countries.
Yeah.
So they have dinners and galas where the Italians and the Australians come and they buy these old old planes.
And you know what that means? That's pure bureaucracy right there. And to me, it's just saying, let's just keep companies in this country making more stuff for us because we have the budget.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
So that same criticism I have of the military, but then I have to look at it and go, okay, well, why is paying for somebody's education? We're going to devalue education. Like, I personally am a big believer in. I told you I have an investment tutor. I told him, like, okay, I want to pay you. He's like, no, I don't take payment. As long as you take it seriously. I'm like, no, but I want to pay you because I value things that I pay for. People might sit there and say, oh, it's easy to say you didn't have college. Okay, fine, but why are you entitled to having a free education? Why is it a right? To me, freedom is the right we have. That's basically it. And freedom gives us a lot of other things to be able to do. But the second we take away from one person, no matter how much they have, you're taking away their freedom in a little bit of way.
How do we lower this? How do we lower the stigma that if you don't go to college, there's something wrong with you?
The same way we created the stigma that you need to go to college, or else it's all a matter of this marketing. I mean, it's just like global warming, for example. Do I believe in global warming? There is I should say this. I haven't looked at the science of it, but it seems hard to fight that the amount of emissions we're permeating has not changed the environment.
Sure.
But based on what I've seen, the kind of reactions we've seen from people, something tells me it's not as bad as we think. I hear people literally saying, in 15 years, there might not be an Earth. Okay. No. 20 years ago, it was all about the ozone layer. Mm-hmm. Now they find out the ozone layer is rebuilding itself.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's not. It's, okay, I get that, but we can't sit there and pick and choose which argument works at what time.
Well, they removed CFCs from refrigerants and whatnot.
Right, and that helped.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, that was the only thing that mattered. The ozone layer.
Absolutely.
The ozone layer. The ozone. Now it's like, well, no, we still have, great. And that whole point is we just tend to overreact on things as a country. Education's a big thing.
Sure.
If everybody in this country had a PhD, we'd have PhDs working at McDonald's. That's just a reality, because we have to remember there's still free markets, and capitalism and free markets have worked better than socialism, all these other things over time.
There's about 50,000 PhD graduates a year.
50,000.
0.0001. So a tenth of a thousandth. Yeah. 50,000.
Wow.
So they told us that the day we started our PhD program, and they told us 1/2% get a PhD this year. So, but tell me this. I think on the other end of the spectrum, won't these kids who aren't under this immense debt, our friend Michael Jordan, I think, graduated medical school with $370,000 in debt. His payment is like $3,000 a month or something.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is not a top school.
MJ, you're crazy.
This is not Harvard. MJ, I love you, but I mean, this is not Harvard. Case Western, great school. But we have mutual friends who went to Harvard. So won't these kids without this debt, won't they spend more? Won't they make a business? Won't they employ people?
So first off,
won't they learn from us, counseling from you?
So first off, I think they will. There's definite correlation between education and income. But at what point does that start to have a very quick diminishing return, right? I think that your neighbor who's going into a plumbing program is likely to do very, very well. What does very, very well mean? I don't know. 60, 70, 80,000 a year. Maybe they went and got an MD, they'd go make 300,000 a year, 400,000 a year, 500,000 a year. But at the same point, I keep going back to, we keep telling everyone you must get an education. The more and more people that do it, the more and more we're going to pay the plumbers and the welders who aren't doing it. It's like, it's so hard, because then those people we don't have those jobs available. I mean, we've done welding before for our properties, building staircases. Holy F, is it expensive. Why? Because we have so few people who do it. To me, it's more of a, college isn't for everybody. It's not just about how much money you make. Are you really enjoying what you're doing? Are you really happy being a doctor, MJ? Are you really happy being a PhD in chemistry, Seth? I don't know, but to me, we got to stop diminishing. It's almost elitism to say, oh, you must get an education. It's what you must do. You must have an education. It's like, why? Just because we've always said that's the way it is. As Warren Buffett says, a bubble is always created on a fundamentally good idea, sound idea. Well, getting education is a good idea. Well, then now it became, when we were in high school, it was education at any cost, right? I mean, essentially, nobody ever talked about debt. Nobody ever talked to us about you're going to have college debt. It was just like, no, you just go to college and you get your education and you'll make a lot of money.
Well, in all the movies is like, it's like if you graduate, it's like the greatest thing ever. I'm the first in my family to ever go to college, and then you end up with $40,000 debt and a Black History degree, which I have, or a communications degree, like something that you can be a prof. Even me with a PhD. I mean, I could be a prof. Or professor. Yeah, sorry. I could be a professor, or I don't know. I definitely, after getting, I graduated in a pretty bad time, 2008, 2009. I remember applying for 70 jobs and getting one call back with a PhD. And I had friends who were not putting their PhD on their resume. They were only putting their master's because they couldn't find jobs they couldn't find the pay scale. I mean,
well, that's the thing. If you'd applied to me with a PhD, I would have looked at it and been like, well, he probably wants more money than I can give him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's this. Listen, the fundamental thing we're trying to get at here is education's great. It's great for certain reasons, but it's not always great. Nothing is always the right decision. Your neighbor becoming a plumber, we're always going to need plumbers. We can't figure out it. It's going to be hard. I shouldn't say we're never. It's going to be hard to figure out a way that we go, you know what? I'm going to take a dump and a piss. And we're not going to need to get rid of that in any way, shape, or form. By the way, mark this as explicit now, Tim.
Yes, Tim, please do.
Fuck. We're going to have to mark, we're always going to need that. And the less and less people who do it, guess what's going to happen? They're going to make more money. You know what you're going to have? You're going to have PhDs in chemistry going, I have a PhD in chemistry, and that guy's a plumber, and he makes more money than me. Well, yeah, that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Sorry. And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just sitting there saying that.
In that tone, time, I am saying it like a gremlin sort of.
Darn you kids. We were, when we lived on Turkey Foot Lake back in Akron, the biggest house across the water was a plumber. And I remember being like, that's awesome.
Going back to that, the way you interpret
matey. I don't know. It was a pirate.
I told you that pirate joke, right?
Which one?
Like what's a pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet?
And usually people say R.
Yeah, and then you cut in with, no, it's the C. But my 5-year-old was telling this joke at Easter dinner, and he's just like, what's a pirate's favorite letter? R and C. So, folks, if you're listening to the Learn From Us podcast, timing is everything. Comedic timing is everything. When to buy,
the aristocrats.
when to sell, timing. Well, I knew that you love what the Democrats have to say.
Let's just talk about all politicians in general, because I really don't want to pick on the Democrats. It's just that
that's true.
It's just that if both sides did what they actually said they would do and believed, then I would be able to take sides. But unfortunately, both of them are exactly the same. So Republicans talk about smaller government, and then they go give their buddies in corporate America these big contracts to go build a jet that's 14 days old to go build a new jet because the old one is 14 days old as opposed to whatever. But, my viewpoints change a lot over the years. I used to think corporate America was the most impressive thing in the world, and now I think it's a sham and a bunch of people, circle jerking each other.
Why do you say that?
I don't think it's real business. I think it's you're hired to do one task, and of course I'm going to get flack for this, but as a real as an entrepreneur, you realize your job is everything when you start your business. But in corporate America, it's analyze this Excel sheet, go do this, and it's I'm on vacation, do not bother me. I don't want to hear from anybody. It's like, well, that's not, to me, real business. It's a part of business, but you can't say my employees when you're the head of a 20-person division, because I sit there and say, you're going to get your money no matter if your division does well or not. You're going to get your salary, you're going to get your bonus. I remember I have a friend of mine who ran a company where he got a bonus if the company lost $8 million instead of $10 million that year. He got a big bonus. I declared bankruptcy. You know what I mean? It's like, the average person declaring bankruptcy if their business only lost $8 million that year versus 10. You know what I mean? And that's where I look at it going. In corporate America, it's also very country clubbish. Like it's about schmoozing and politics as opposed to who's going to out hustle? I don't know. Of course, there's somebody out there saying, well, then you don't know real corporate America. It's like, okay, sounds good. You don't know real business. So it's hard to, everybody talks about being an entrepreneur, but it takes a certain, level of, here's what I'll say about corporate America too. I could live a much better lifestyle if I had this income in corporate America than if I didn't. Because I don't spend what I can because I'm like, well, there might be a day when I need to go invest multiple 6 figures into a property or 7 figures into a property. And that's as opposed to, let me go ask my corporate boss, hey, we need to go put $2 million in this property. Oh yeah, that sounds good. It sounds like a good investment. Put the proposal together. Yep, that sounds good. Here's your wire. Oh, great. I'm going to go take my family on a vacation on a private yacht and blah, blah, blah. And that's very cynical. Blah. I know, I get it. But it's also the same thing has to do with politics. It's, these guys are just doing what's right for them. Politicians in general just do what's right for them to get reelected. Fine, that's the system we have. I get that, but don't try to tell me you care about, this world when this is a bunch of overpromising and it's going to be an underdeliver by Elisabeth Warren. Just like Trump's promising of, building that wall. I mean, what's even going on with the wall? Does anybody know what's going on with this wall?
Well, it sort of died down.
Has it died?
He said the building's going great. We're winning.
Yeah, so that's right. He did say that. The building's it's going great. We're winning. Yeah, you're right.
Best building, best wall ever.
Yeah.
And my bias says we have properties in Mexico, and I love Mexico. I think it's the most underrated country in the world. And but I laugh about it because my Mexican friends, I'm like, you guys better get over here before that wall's built, or else you guys are going to get stuck over there.
You do love Mexico.
I love it.
Folks, go to luxuryzlo.com to see all the Paul's beautiful houses in Mexico that he does rent out for vacation homes.
Yep.
A lot of these homes go to charity, but they're stunning. I know the photographer and the videographer did all the work down there. He's very handsome and charming.
And you also helped him.
I did. Yeah. My wife helped too.
Yeah.
So it was awkward.
No, but anyways, back to it. It's just I just don't like politicians in general, and it's just like, come on, give me a break, But that's why I just laugh at these proposals because it gets everybody all excited. Like, oh, she cares so much about the average person. It's like, okay, sounds good.
Now, I know your boy Joe Biden's announcing a run, but wasn't it just a couple weeks ago he was getting handsy with people?
Oh, God, wasn't that a great story? Like, so first off, the Joe Biden, Barack Obama memes were the best memes out there. And then Joe Biden gets accused of inappropriately sniffing women or whatever he was doing. What was he doing? He was like...
I think he was overly hugging.
And he was also smelling their hair and stuff like that.
Oh, Steve, yeah, like he was. Oh, I see. Shoulder rubs.
Shoulder rubs. That's right. It was the shoulder rubs. I like Biden. I think he's funny, and I love the comedic part of it. Like, the videos they did in the White House. To me, I think Biden has the best chance of beating a guy like Trump. Because to fight a guy like Trump, you got to bring... You think then you got to bring let me bring the Washington insider back in to bring some normalcy back to Bernie Sanders, like, I know he's getting a lot of attention, but how does a guy like that beat Trump? Maybe it's the whole fight fire with fire thing, but I look at it going, how does he beat Trump? I don't know. I really think it's going to be somebody like a Joe Biden, guys, I've been in this for a long time. We've deviated from what needs to be done. We've deviated from what the presidency represents. I represent the presidency because I was vice president with one of the most popular presidents, if not the most popular ever. Okay, I think he has the best chance, and I think he's funny as hell.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, the handsiness might come up to catch up with him, but...
How did it even come out? One state senator in Vegas was like, she was being interviewed and something happened. She's like, oh yeah, Joe Biden made me uncomfortable. He came close to my hair and sniffed it and rubbed my back, and it's like, oh boy.
I mean, these older folks come from a different time, I mean,
it was a very different time,
right? You sit on my lap and
Mad Men style.
Jesus, you remember the Family Feud hosts in the 70s who just basically make out with Tell me you've seen these videos. Bro.
I have not.
Folks, go on Facebook, YouTube. Just type in like whatever. Is it Len Dawson? I can't. It might have been. It's like look up like 70s Family Feud awkward kisses. The guy game show host. You know how contestants are on? How many contestants are on?
Oh 10. Yeah.
Every time he would go down the line and he would kiss the woman on lips. Mom, grandma, the 16-year-old daughter on the lips, kisses. It was expected. It was expected. Tim's pulling it up right now. It was absolutely expected. I mean, this was just like 40 years ago, when our parents were getting married. Yeah, and there he is. Tim's got the video now. And there he is, just tongue kissing, like grandma all the way down to like middle school girl.
How many middle school girls were on Family Feud?
I'm kidding. That's an exaggeration, but I mean, it's definitely awkward. You got to look that up. But I mean, yeah, right? The Playboy mentality. I'm sure Joe's got a little bit of that in him. I mean, obviously Trump does as well. On film. He's been filmed saying it. So, well, wow, what a podcast we have.
Yes, we covered, like we always do, we cover a few topics. But either way, Elisabeth Warren's my new hero because she's going to eliminate college debt at the cost of everybody else.
Just rich people?
I mean, it seems like it.
Well, they have to pay their fair share, Paul. You know this, right?
Damn, rich people.
Oh, you're bringing it all together.
Yes.
Look at you, how you tie it in.
Together.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Listen, and again, I want to keep repeating this because I'm not, and of course, maybe I'm biased, but we always believed this even before we had money, was at some point, you're going to give a disincentive to people as you take more and more away from them. And the last people you want to take away from are the ones who create companies that create, as much as everybody here talks about how much they hate profit's what's going to pay for those programs. So they got to sit there, and you can't bite the hand that feeds you. You can't tell the person that's funding all your stuff, you suck, you're greedy, you're all this stuff. It's like, but it's the reason, if you're right, that's the reason why you'll be able to pay for this stuff. And I don't think they're right. Somebody upstairs, I won't tell you who it was, just told me that they don't think anybody can be a billionaire unless they do something unethical and I was like shocked. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, you have to be I'm just like, bro, really? And I was floored by it. But this has been permeated. I mean, people have said that before, like it's impossible to become rich without doing something shady. I'm like, do you think I'm shady? He's like, well, no, not you. I'm like, well, but I'll be a billionaire someday. And I'm not doing anything shady. So anyhow, that's that.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I would probably used to think that way. Something has to be. You have to do some sort of tricky things, but I'd gladly switch. Most people would probably gladly switch with your lifestyle in a heartbeat.
Does your mother listen to this podcast?
Probably not.
So
she's too busy arguing on Facebook.
Okay,
with
so that's
strangers.
the thing. She added me on Facebook recently. Very nice woman.
Did she invite you to Easter dinner?
She did invite me to Easter dinner. Very nice of her.
Did you hear about this?
Did she tell you she invited me?
My wife told me.
How did she? Okay, so anyways, your mother's very nice. And it's funny because she's like, Paul, I'm so happy you're working with Seth and he loves you and all this stuff. And I'm like,
I didn't know any of this.
I'm like, well, how much does he love me? Can you give me a scale 1 to 10? No, so she said, but then she's a very nice woman. And she was like, Paul, you got to come to Easter dinner. I'm like, well, I have family too. I got to do this whole thing. And, But then I saw her post something on Facebook, and it said
don't read her
the
post.
3 wealthiest people have more
I was
wealth.
just gonna bring up the same thing.
Have more wealth than the bottom 50%. And I was like, so? And I almost wrote so, question mark, but I'm like, you just met her. She's very nice. She means well. Like, but I only wanted to write so, question mark. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean it's wrong?
So I've been trying to put myself in the shoes of others of late. And you're talking about, not to defend, but you're talking about a woman who's worked with thousands of veterans her whole life who have probably been disgraced by this country, who probably don't have the benefits they told they were had.
Of course.
My dad comes home from
By the government, by the way.
Yeah. My dad comes home from Vietnam and loses friends, parents. His dad, it's just like total life, like not the same. A brilliant student. And so she's dealt with that side a lot. And so they tie in. And so it's hard to, but I've definitely had these conversations. Like she used to hate LeBron James, like most people would have. Why do we pay these superstars this much money?
Like my father.
Then he builds a school. Now he's a saint, which is true. I guess it helps.
Listen, Bill Gates was getting attacked by the government. Everybody hated him. Somebody probably inside his circle said, listen, do you want to change public's perception of you? You got to start donating. And now he is the greatest man alive. 20 years later. In the matter of 20 years, he went from the most vilified person in the world to probably one of the most respected persons. Is that what it is? Peoples. Wung it in the world. And I'm looking at, but it was funny because your mother is so nice, and I'm sure, and you're right. We are all based on we all have thoughts based on our history and all that stuff. But my only comment to the whole thing was going to be question. And I literally wrote it, and I go, Paul, she's so nice. She doesn't mean this to like attack anybody. She's just a nice woman, and you just tell her like, Sharon, you're dead to me. That's it. No, I'm just kidding around.
And that's a wrap on the podcast.
But she has a lot of posts on those things.
Let's not. I mean, look, like she just posts a lot on Facebook. I want her to slow down, but
listen, what else is there?
After Dad died, I just let her do what she wants.
Of course, she's earned that right.
Yeah, just have fun. I'll try
and she
take
means
care
very
of you.
well. And like I said, that was very nice of her to reach out to me and offer me the Easter dinner. I'm like,
well, she must think you're just some lonely guy, like up in his tower of his castle, just like no communication.
With my dogs, I just sit there and pet my dogs like Austin Powers. I go, will someone invite me to Easter,
these
please?
damn Democrats, stop taking my money.
I will put it in gold underneath my bed and they'll never find it.
That voice sounds like your pirate voice.
I only have one voice. If you want an Indian accent, that's it. If you want a Chinese accent, that's it. Middle Eastern, same thing.
You are Middle Eastern.
I am, though. I don't actually do a good Middle Eastern accent.
We'll work on that.
Okay. Anyways.
Coming to the next podcast, we'll do Paul's accents from around the world, along with karaoke.
And our new jingle is coming out soon. Seth has written a jingle for the Deal of the Week.
It's coming, folks. So gird your loins.
Gird your loins.
It's coming. Thank you for joining us. Learnfromus.com. If you want to see how ugly we are, we're on YouTube. Although you look wonderful today.
Thank you very much.
And I haven't eaten any solid food in 3 days, so I'm looking rather svelte as well.
You've lost 24 pounds.
So, thanks for joining us, everyone. Join us next time, Mondays and Thursdays. Comment below to argue with Paul. He loves arguing online, especially on Facebook.
Yes.
With people. And join us next time.
And I will say this. A few people did reach out.
I just wrapped up.
I know, but the Webster, and Cohen, the first person, we had a few people respond. The first person was a guy named Alex in LA, and he really wrote, Webster, and Cohen's from Cool Runnings. So Alex, I give you major credit.
We need to have trivia giveaways.
But then it gives incentive for people to cheat. I mean,
just looking it up.
Just look it up. Right. But he immediately wrote, he's like, love the podcast. It's Cool Runnings. I'm like, you are right. It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Talk to you later, man.
Is that your Indian accent?
Cool Runnings. Jamaican.
I'm not teasing. Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. That was Indian.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody. Love you.
Bye-bye.